Goals are seductive, yet goals alone never saved anyone from the 3 p.m. slump, the midnight craving, or the silent vote cast by a tired brain in favor of the familiar. Systems do that. They work in the dark while we sleep, coaching our future reactions before we even know we need them. And tonight we're going to stretch this truth farther than a slogan, long enough to wrap around every excuse you've ever had for quitting, drifting, or waiting for the right mood. Picture the year you felt most on fire. Maybe it was college, a promotion run, marathon training, the first months of a new relationship. Remember how alive the mornings felt, how clear the decisions seemed? What you rarely notice while you're glowing is that life stealth-engineered a system for you. Deadlines, training partners, shared calendars, stakes. Structure disguised itself as passion. Then, once the event passed, the scaffolding disappeared, and you called the slump lack of discipline. But discipline wasn't the fuel, structure was. Systems were. So let's go hunting for them. First, understand the math. A habit loop is a tiny algorithm. Cue, craving, response, reward. Change the cue and 90% of the loop rewrites itself. But the brain has a second algorithm that runs slower. Identity. Identity is nothing more than, I am the kind of person who, statements stored in long-term memory. Habits are short loops. Identity is the mother loop linking them all. Change the mother loop and 1,000 micro-habits tremble at once. Now, absorb the physics. Humans are energy conservers. We follow the path of least resistance, always. Want to start journaling at night? Put the journal on your pillow in the morning. Want to break nightly email doom walks? Log out after work and set 2-factor on. Those 10 extra seconds of friction are spike strips for the craving. The lazier you design your habit, the more faithfully your future self will obey it. Let's ground that in an experiment. Grocery researchers swapped candy bars from a checkout lane to a slightly harder to reach shelf, and sales plummeted 30%. Same shoppers, same hunger, new friction. Now imagine moving the candy bar of scrolling, gossip, doom thinking, or self-doubt just 20 seconds farther from your mental checkout lane. Yet there's a paradox. Change that feels trivial rarely feels valuable, and humans undervalue anything that doesn't hurt. So we chase grand gestures, 5 a.m. boot camps, 80-page business plans, then drown in the weight we ourselves poured. But atomic habits are to transformation what compound interest is to wealth. They look laughable until they look legendary. Let's slow the pace and meet Damon. Damon weighed 300 pounds, smoked a pack a day, and worked 10-hour night shifts at a call center. New Year's resolutions were his annual hallucination. Then he heard James Clear on a podcast say, focus on trajectory, not position. Damon decided position was hopeless, but trajectory might be up for negotiation. He chose one habit. At 7 p.m. before work, he'd drive to the office parking lot, walk 1 lap, and light his first cigarette of the night afterward. He didn't ban the smoke, he delayed the cue. Week 2, he added a second lap. Week 4, he swapped cigarettes for nicotine gum. Month 3, he added water bottles to the passenger seat so the cue of thirst overtook the cue of smoke. By month 6, Damon's night shift began with 2 miles and 0 cigarettes. 12 months in, he'd lost 60 pounds and found a morning shift because he could finally sleep. No goals, no gym membership, no celery juice cleanse, just ruthless respect for systems. But Damon's story hides a deeper lever. Ritual. A ritual is a habit with memory foam, sensory, predictable, anchored to emotion. That lap around the lot became sacred. It declared, we start nights differently now. Rituals whisper identity louder than affirmations because they are physical proofs. A cold shower at dawn, a gratitude voice memo on the commute, a 10-minute room tidy before bed. These are identity tattoos. Yet some rituals are accidents. A singer who warms up backstage the same way before every show is reinforcing the identity of professional, whether she knows it or not. A salesperson who reviews failure notes before dialing rewires himself to value coaching over comfort. Meanwhile, the ritual of checking texts before your feet hit the floor anchors the identity of a second-hand thinker, your agenda, set by everyone else's urgency. So ask yourself, what accidental rituals cue the version of you that you're trying to retire? Before we dig deeper, pause and breathe. Notice how the room feels. That's context. Context is the stage for every future cue, and context is often underestimated because it's everywhere, like air. Researchers found that displaying fruit at eye level in cafeterias increased consumption by a quarter without a single poster urging, "Eat healthy." Visibility is destiny. Which leads us to the 1-2-3 rule of environment design. 1. Make the cue of a good habit obvious. 2. Make the response frictionless. 3. Make the reward satisfying in real time. If any of those ingredients are missing, the loop sputters. Most people think they have a motivation problem, but they have either a cue problem or an instant reward problem. Instant rewards feel indulgent, but they are brain science. Your brain was built for short loops on the savannah. That's why Clear recommends a habit stack of pairing a difficult habit with an immediate mini reward. You write 250 words, you savor a sip of great coffee, you finish a 20-minute workout, you cue your favorite song. Layering like this keeps dopamine honest, arriving exactly when your brain expects a win. Now step back and scan your scoreboard. Clear says, what you measure, you improve. But measuring must match the loop. You don't log lose 20 pounds. You log calories under 2,000 or steps above 8,000. Daily binary, check or miss. The scoreboard is the immune system of the system. Still, even airtight systems meet sabotage, randomness, travel, flu, heartbreak. That's where the never miss twice doctrine lives. Miss once, life. Miss twice, choice. You can't always prevent the first miss, but you can pre-decide the bounce back. Professional violinists who practiced daily weren't immune to breaks. They were immune to 2 breaks in a row. This is where identity and compassion intersect. If you define yourself as a failure after 1 lapse, shame spikes cortisol, which spikes craving, which amplifies the very loop you feared. But if your identity is "I'm the type who restarts quickly," the lapse becomes data, not drama. Let's meet Lena for proof. Lena won national math competitions in high school. In college, calculus came easy, until it didn't. One semester, she bombed a proof theory midterm. Her fixed identity shattered. She considered switching majors. Then a mentor asked, "What system carried you through past wins?" They drew it on a board. Daily problem sets, immediate peer feedback, weekend mock tests, Monday reviews. College had lured her into cramming. She rebuilt the system. Grades soared. Confidence returned. Notice, the breakthrough was not a tutoring session. It was a system audit. So schedule audits, Sunday nights, 15 minutes. Ask, did my cues fire? Did friction creep in? Do my scores show drift? Adjust environment, reinforce ritual, then go to bed curious. This ensures systems grow with seasons. Because what works in single life may suffocate family life. What works in full health won't fit recovery. Systems are living architecture. Remodel them. Now let's pivot to the dark side, bad systems. They thrive on hidden rewards. Procrastination rewards you with temporary anxiety relief. Gossip rewards you with social bonding. Late-night doom scrolling rewards you with novelty. These instant rewards outweigh distant costs, so the brain keeps the loop. To dismantle a bad loop, showcase the cost in the present tense. Move the credit card debt total onto a sticky note on your laptop. Set your phone wallpaper to screen time stats. Bring the future pain into immediate view, and the loop recoils. But negative reinforcement alone can backfire. Shame overloads. Pair cost revelation with an alternative reward pathway. Replace doom scrolling with a miniature novelty loop. Open a language learning app instead. Same cue, boredom, different response, equal reward, novelty, but long-term upside. Social identity again supercharges this switch. Join a group where the reward for positive behavior is status. A writer's group where posting word counts earns community applause hijacks the same dopamine route social media once monopolized. Which brings us to keystone habits, those rare loops that trigger cascades. Exercise is classic. One run often improves diet, sleep, mood, even spending, because you don't want to sabotage the run's payoff. Find your keystone. It could be a 10-minute morning meditation, an evening kitchen reset, a midday walk. Guard it like a crown jewel. Everything else grows around it. But beware the plateaus. When a habit becomes effortless, its growth curve flattens. That's inoculation for boredom. Clear prescribes variable repetition. Insert occasional challenges. If you journal nightly, add a new prompt each week. If you lift weights, swap grip styles monthly. Novelty keeps dopamine spiking, which keeps the loop energized without losing the identity vote. Speaking of novelty, remember the airplane rule? Tiny degrees compound. In a 35-minute window, about what this episode will run, your habits will fire hundreds of micro loops, posture adjustments, blink rate, breathing patterns, thoughts drifting toward or away from focus. Each micro loop chooses a future. Meditation studies show that focusing on breath for 20 minutes can shrink the brain's fear center in 8 weeks. Tiny inside, enormous outside. So practical challenge. Design a habit of moments. Each time you open a door, whisper the identity you are voting for. I'm a learner. I'm a finisher. I'm a patient parent. Door handles become cues scattered across the planet. Cheap real estate for rewiring. If all this still sounds abstract, let's engineer a live build. Suppose your goal is to read 50 books in a year. A big shiny outcome. Convert it. Identity. I'm a reader. System cues. Place a book on the pillow before leaving home. Put a Kindle app on front page, social media page 2. Friction for bad loop. Unfollow accounts that trigger doom scroll. Sign out each night. Immediate reward. Highlight or doodle after each chapter. Share quote to a friend. Scoreboard. Mark calendar X each day you read 10 pages. Audit. Sunday nights tally pages, adjust if streak slips. Now the goal is irrelevant. The system is alive. And if the book habit thrives, watch spillover. Richer vocabulary, calmer evenings, new curiosity loops. Keystone effect. Compounding forward. Remember, compounding has a twin, lag time. Results arrive like freight trains, slow, then unstoppable. The fitness weighed in pounds lost may stay flat for weeks, then plummet. That flat stretch is the valley of disappointment, where most systems are abandoned hours before harvest. Memorize this mental graph. Progress is exponential, but perception is linear. Trust the math you can't see yet. Trust also the science. Brain scans show that repeating a behavior clusters neurons into bundles called engrams. At first, the synapse is a dirt path. Repetition paves it into a 4-lane highway. Disuse lets nature reclaim the asphalt. That's why one break isn't fatal if you repave quickly. Miss twice and weeds sprout. Miss thrice and asphalt cracks. But a single rep can start the repair, which begs a philosophical reflection. Systems grant hope because they are agnostic to mood, privilege, even some resource limits. You can be broke and begin a gratitude habit. You can be exhausted and begin a 2-minute stretch ritual. Tiny votes, tiny roads, eventual highways. Now overlay faith. Napoleon Hill framed desire and autosuggestion as mental energies. Carol Dweck framed growth as belief in plasticity. James Clear frames habits as votes for identity. Combine them and you are building a cathedral of self where every brick is a loop, every arch an identity, and every spire a goal accomplished almost accidentally because the architecture demanded it. That architecture needs one final blueprint, triggers for review. Quarterly, revisit identity statements. Are they big enough? Too big? Still yours? Life chapters change, systems must too. A new parent's identity of marathoner may shift to daily mover, and that pivot isn't quitting, it's recalibrating loops to reality so the identity vote remains honest. Finally, weave joy. If systems taste like bland discipline, you will rebel. Habit loops love novelty, yes, but they also love pleasure. Tie music, candles, sunlight, community color, whatever lights your brain to the behaviors you need most. Joyful cues turn chores into cravings. We've journeyed from cue to craving, from Damon to Lena, from candy bar shelves to neural highways. But knowledge only becomes power when translated into a vote. So tonight, pick one loop. Make the cue obvious, the response easy, the reward immediate. Cast that vote. Tomorrow, cast another. And should you miss, never miss twice. Because in the end, you will not be judged by your longest streak or grandest goal. You'll be defined by the systems you designed, the quiet daily elections no one saw, and the identity that emerged when the ballots were counted. Think, grow, repeat.